So this current pause on construction, what's it going to do for the industry?
Well, there's a couple of 100,000 people out of work at the moment, trade contractors, builders, suppliers and so on. There's billions of dollars worth of construction work in residential building that's now on hold, and a 2-week shutdown is going to mean nearly $1 billion worth of loss, and I don't think the Premier realises that you just can't turn construction off and then turn it back on again and it starts straight away.
How do you come to those figures?
Well, we know how much activity goes on across Australia. We know how much is in New South Wales. We know how much is in Sydney. If you look at the number of new housing projects, upwards of 15,000 new homes under construction in Sydney at the moment. You then add the renovations and major projects, alterations and additions, and then we add in the residential apartment buildings. We know the value of that work. We know how much work gets carried out in a year. A 2-week shutdown gives us a fairly easy answer.
But why wouldn't, that money is still going to come in eventually, though, isn't it? It's just going to be delayed somewhat. Or is it just going to be cancelled?
It will be delayed, but a lot of it will be delayed to the point where you won't recover. So you've got supply chains that supply the concrete, the steel, the timber, the plasterboard, and all the materials that go into a house. That supply chain is now held up, and it'll take us a few weeks to get going once the Premier gives us a thumbs up to full capacity. So you just lose that amount of activity. You lose that production.
Yeah, and what do you think this is going to do for those smaller businesses, Graham?
Well, a lot of small businesses out there are dealing with price increases and supply chain issues at the moment. The delay like this is going to significantly impact their cash flow. We have a lot of concern for small businesses out there, small building businesses, small trade contractor businesses, supply businesses. The cash flow is going to hurt them.
And how much do those grants, both federal and state, plug that gap?
Not really. They don't really. They certainly do help the individual workers. The $600 a week will help them get through, but $600 doesn't pay all the bills. We've got apprentices who are underage and don't get access to that funding. Look, it's a help, but it's not going to save people from going under.
Yeah. Okay. Now you've got a plan to deal with it, to get construction back on track. How are you going to do it?
Well, we've been doing it for the last 18 months, Peter. We've been able to operate very safely. We have social distancing, we have contact tracing, we have QR codes on building sites. Builders and trade contractors travel to work in their own cars. They're on the road at 6 o'clock in the morning by themselves. They get to site, it's an open site. They can work safely. The plan is to ramp that up a little bit more to limit the number of people on a site to one set of trade contractors at any one time, and making sure that trade contractors don't travel frequently from site to site. So it is about monitoring and maintaining a sensible approach to spreading the virus. But we haven't had reports of virus on a domestic site anywhere in Australia.
Are you hopeful? I mean, have you had conversations with the government about this plan, and how's it being received?
Yes, we have, and increasingly there's a lot of people in government that see the sense in allowing this roadmap out of the COVID shutdown in domestic construction, residential construction. I note that the shutdown in the orange area has allowed construction sensibly to continue to operate. In conversations with the Premier, she's acknowledged that. So, look, I think there is a gaining attraction to allowing builders and contractors on site. We know that in many electorates out there in Sydney, up to 14%, 12 to 14% of the workforce, the voters, are trade contractors, are builders that are working in the construction industry. So it's a very important industry for the economy, for jobs, for productivity, and for the electorates.
Okay. All right, we'll see if that can get overturned. In the meantime, the Premier does say next Friday is going to be it, and there will be some activity on work sites. Is that enough for you, Graham?
No, that roadmap needs to be ramped up, Peter. We need to make sure that we can start getting people on site. There's too much at stake, both in terms of health and safety, security and maintenance of properties, but also there's a lot of families out there that are living in homes that are semi-completed. There's a lot of people out there that are paying bills for houses that are half complete. We need to get on with it. We need the productivity of New South Wales and Sydney to to get started again.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of those workers are not entitled to those government grants because they're too young. All right, Graham.
Thanks, Peter.
Appreciate your time. We've got to go. Thank you. Talk to you soon.